I'm Dana Denha, and you're watching FYI. 2025 has been quite a year as Theater Nova has brought unforgettable stories and standout performances to the stage in honor of 10 years in the business. FYI cameras have caught some of the action throughout the year to see firsthand why this professional theater company will be celebrated for decades to come. Watch as two lives intersect from worlds apart in radical empathy.
So Radical Empathy is a world premiere by local playwright David Wells. This one is based on a true story. It's set between about 2011 and 2018, where a Penn State professor gave this TED Talk on the concept of radical empathy, so really getting into what it feels like to empathize with another person. His talk was about what life was like in Iraq during the war, and this guy in Iraq, Boehm, ends up emailing him, and they forge this friendship. He Skypes him in, and they talk.
And it's all about putting yourself in the shoes of a normal Iraqi citizen.
The reality of 2025 is that every single day people are dealing with what Boehm deals with in the show. So we wanted to be sensitive about that and also make sure that we're giving a voice to what that experience is like as best as we can.
It deals with empathy. It's right in the title. It's called Radical Empathy. And it deals with putting yourself in other people's shoes.
There's so much theater and art in the world, and there are brand new voices who are writing new stories and new takes on stuff every single day. So it's really a blessing to be able to find those new works and give them a voice.
See Radical Empathy Fridays through Sundays until August 24th and visit theaternova.org for more information on the incredible plays happening at the Yellow Barn. Stay tuned and we'll be back with more in exactly 30 seconds. The city is home to more than 160 parks with scenic views, places to play, and some top-notch facilities. See all that Las Vegas Park has during this Park Peek.
Welcome to the southwest side of Ann Arbor, where you'll find a quiet, green retreat nestled between Las Vegas Drive and Grenada Avenue. Welcome to Las Vegas Park. This neighborhood park may be small, just under 2 acres, but it's packed with charm and community spirit. A wide open grassy field offers space to run, play, or just soak up the sun. Our colorful play structure keeps kids entertained and active. And for a quick pickup game, there's a half basketball court with lighting for evening fun. A paved, accessible path meanders through the park, perfect for a stroll or a bike ride. Enjoy natural shade from honey locust trees near the playground, plus a variety of other beautiful trees like London planes, red maples, and little leaf lindens. Las Vegas Park is easy to reach by foot or bike, thanks to sidewalks and bike lanes from Stadium Boulevard. Street parking is available along Las Vegas Drive and Grenada Avenue. Just a heads up, there aren't any bike racks, so plan accordingly. Las Vegas Park is a small but beloved corner of Ann Arbor. Come explore, relax, and connect with your community. Want to learn more? Visit a2gov.org/parkfinder and find your next outdoor adventure.
Are you interested in civic engagement and want your voice to be heard? Learn about joining one of Ann Arbor's many boards and commissions in this month's City Roundup in 60.
Hi, I'm Sarah Lenise from the City of Ann Arbor Clerk's Office. We want to show you how easy it is to get involved with your community by serving on a board or commission. The City of Ann Arbor appoints over 200 people to over 50 boards and commissions. From sustainability to transportation, we have boards and commissions for a wide range of policy interests. Most of them meet once a month virtually. You can start by visiting a2gov.legistar.com and clicking the Boards and Commissions tab. There you can read a short description about each board or commission. When you find one that interests you, click the Apply Now button in the top right-hand corner. You'll complete a short form including your contact information, background, and why you're interested in serving. Even if there's not a vacancy at the time, we'll keep your application for up to 2 years. Next, your application goes to City Council, where they may reach out to you to learn more or schedule an interview. Once the council makes their appointments, you'll be contacted on next steps and prepped for your first meeting. Serving is a great way to help shape our city's future. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact our office or visit the website for more information.
The sciences can open your eyes to a world of possibilities. It explains so much about our surroundings and creates critical thinkers to explore new hypotheses and solutions that may have never been discovered if it weren't for a love and learning of science. And there's a Michigan-based author making the sciences easy and simple to understand for 4 to 8-year-olds. Joining me is Lily Boehm, author of the Curious Minds book series. Welcome to the show, Lily.
Thank you for having me.
So I'd like to know a little bit about you. Do you have a background in the sciences? What made you want to be an author, but also be teaching kids at the same time?
Sure. So I don't have a traditional background in teaching or science, but they say people either are right brain or left brain. They either love art and history or they love science and math. And I've always been a science and math person. As far as writing goes, I did write my first book unsuccessfully about a decade ago. It was not a children's book. It wasn't until after COVID. I have 4 kids of my own. So we did the homeschooling thing during COVID. And once we got back into school, everyone, my kids included, they were all a little behind. So I kind of took that time, decided maybe it's time to make something very palatable for children to get them back on track. It started with some basic STEM concepts. Actually, the first book was Entropy. That book I wrote because when I was a child, many, many moons ago, you didn't have Google in your pocket. You couldn't just pull out your phone and Google it. And so I was assigned a vocabulary notebook where we were to look through different magazines, and books and whatever. And I found the word entropy and I put it in my vocabulary notebook. And I could never find a definitive definition for the word. So it ended up becoming this inside joke between my brother and I that we didn't know what entropy was, but we would use it in sentences just silly and we just said it all the time. So once I grew up and I had the phone in my pocket, I pulled it right out, Googled it, and I thought, I'm going to write this book to make it easy for kids to know what entropy is.
It's really funny that you said that because when I was looking at your books and stuff, and I was like, I don't know what entropy is. And then I Googled it, and then I asked my husband what it was, and he didn't know either. And I was like, did we not learn stuff that we were supposed to be learning when we were children? I didn't know. And I even looking it up and Googling it, I'm like, I don't even know if I fully understand it.
Sure. So when you read the book has a really, really palatable definition for kids. Entropy just means the universe getting messier over time. So in my original book, Entropy, the story goes, all the stories follow a little girl named Olivia and her teddy bear / sidekick, Flux. So in the story, her mom walks in the morning and she's starting to make a mess of her room. And her mother says to her, oh, it looks like Entropy's winning the day today. And she goes, what's entropy? And her mother tells her, it's just getting messier over time. And she says, oh, I love entropy. And so she starts really making a big mess of her room. And it's getting to the point where her room is just thrashed. And she looks around and she realizes Flux is gone. She cannot find her teddy bear anywhere. So then she decides she's going to reverse entropy and she cleans up her bedroom. And in the end, she finds her teddy bear and all is good in the world again. So it's a really, easy way for kids to understand what entropy is. So if they can read that book, go into it not knowing anything about entropy, even if their parent reads them the book and they don't know what entropy is, by the end of that story, it's only going to take them, 10 minutes to get through. They're going to know exactly what entropy is and they're going to remember it for a lifetime.
It's so interesting because I do find myself to be more of that creative mind where I'm more into like the arts and stuff. And I struggled with science my whole life. Like I remember being in science class and just being like completely lost. You know what I mean? There'll be times where I'm like, I don't know, really understand this, but I would make it through or whatever. I don't think a lot of this stuff really stuck with me though, because it just didn't, I don't know. It just wasn't there for me. But I love how you're simplifying it. And it's like bringing it to females like me, because we know, like back in the 80s, 70s, all that, it was always like women were doing English classes well, not science and math. And we want to change that. I mean, there's so much possibility for everybody in the sciences and math.
Definitely.
So talk about, you mentioned Olivia and Flux. Are these based on your beautiful children that you have? Did these characters help, like your children help you create these characters?
Well, my youngest daughter, I have four kids. So my youngest daughter, Hazel, I almost wanted the name Hazel, but she was like, Mom, no, why would you do that? You cannot do that to me. And I was like, you know what? Fine, I'll go with the name Olivia. So, of course, when she was younger, she had a teddy bear that she loved so much. His name wasn't Flux, but it was kind of based on that, loosely based on that. Don't tell her I said that.
It's interesting though, because you say it's like for 4 to 8 year olds. And honestly, my daughter just turned 9 this year, and I'm like, I think these books could benefit her in a major way because early education, at least in her school, and I don't know what it's like at all schools or anything, but science is not a top priority. They'll do like some science experiments and stuff, but it's really about learning to read. That's like your number one priority is learning to read. So when I ask her about some science stuff, she might get like they talk about the universe and this and that, but like I think some of this more complicated stuff that you're talking about and simplifying, I don't think a lot of second, third graders know that stuff yet.
Absolutely. Some of the book I would say so there's 18 currently in the series. Many of the books I kind of got it broken down into age range. Some of the topics are really appropriate for that kindergarten to first grade, like photosynthesis, gravity. These are things that are already kind of in the curriculum. But when you jump ahead to like my new book, it's called Entanglement Doppelganger. It's about quantum entanglement. Obviously, those things are a little bit out of the realm of the K through maybe even five. K through five, it's going to be a little advanced for them, but it's not necessarily meant to be curriculum. These books aren't written like a glossary index book. These are for younger kids to dip their toe into these ideas so that later on in life, when they come back, they feel familiar and they don't feel so intimidating.
Yeah, and even when they have those opportunities, in elementary school and high school and stuff where they can do STEM activities and they've read these books, this could actually make them really want to do it. Because I feel like a lot of times you get those kids that do STEM, but they're interested in sciences their whole life. But then if you like take someone, for instance, like my daughter, who's not like a super scientific person, and if you put her in one of those activities and she does experiments, she'll come home and say how much fun it was. And I don't know if people that aren't doing it, they just don't understand that it is fun for everyone and you will understand it if you do those activities.
Yes, one example I would say, a book that I made, Eclipse. It's based around eclipse. So all of the books, they're more story time based, kind of like a bedtime story. It's the dialogue that kind of trickles in these STEM theories or whatever. And Eclipse specifically, it's called Shadow Puppets. So there's a really fun activity that anyone can do. And if they read the book, they'll come up with it like, oh, we could do that. Just making shadow puppets and using a flashlight to really show the kids hands-on what creates an eclipse. And especially when we have eclipses, eclipses are not always so popular, but when they come around, and there's one coming around next March, I think it's going to be a really fun time and just very simple activity to really get their brain around it.
Well, and our kids have experienced a total eclipse recently too, so they do know what it is, but not fully. Do you know what I mean? Like they're like, yeah, we had the glasses, we stood outside of our school and we looked at it and stuff, but it's like, do you really know?
Yeah.
Talk about breaking down these books and coming up with subject matters, because like you said, you're not like necessarily a scientist or anything. It's really you doing research and finding the tools that you need to make these stories.
Sure. So when I first started writing, it was after COVID. My youngest daughter, she was going into the third grade. So after I wrote entropy, right? So that was my own experience as a kid, not figuring out what entropy was. But going forward, I really looked at her curriculum and what she was doing in third grade. And so a lot of these basic ones, photosynthesis, gravity, refraction, these sort of books, they were kind of followed along for her. So would she come home from school? Oh, do you have any homework? What do you do today? Oh, we learned about photosynthesis. Oh, well, I have a book for that. Let's read that. And I just want to say my book, Photosynthesis, it's one of my favorite ones. It blends emotional, like STEM, in with the idea of photosynthesis. So the story is about Olivia and Flux, and they're in Grandma's garden, and they come across a sunflower whose name is ironically Poppy. And Poppy feels left out because she's too tall to be a flower, but she's obviously not a tree. So the flowers look at her and they're putting their nose up saying, you're not one of us. And the trees are looking and saying, well, you're obviously not one of us. And so through the dialogue and the story, they learn about what photosynthesis is, and photosynthesis is what makes her belong regardless of who she fits in with. She's still part of that garden. So it's kind of like a dual storyline there that kids can really feel.
Yeah, when I was reading the materials, I was like, I like that you mentioned that the books incorporate humor and emotion because I think that makes you relate to the stories more.
Definitely. Definitely. Kids are always looking for, what can I relate to? How does this affect me? And so not fitting in is a huge one for kids. Obviously, every kid, it doesn't matter where they come from, they're always going to have a moment where they don't fit in when they walk into a new classroom or the first day of school, or they have to, walk into an assembly when everyone's already seated. It's that awkward feeling that everybody gets across the board.
And I also feel like you don't know this until you become a parent, but like you have to teach your kids everything, like everything. They don't even understand emotions. You have to explain emotions to them. You have to explain how to react to people in ways that aren't rude and like all these things that you just don't realize. You think that it's just like something inherently in you, and it's not. And you're like, okay, I have to teach this human being everything from the ground up.
Especially nowadays with the kids glued to their phones and with TikTok. I mean, even if you don't let your kids have a phone or you don't let them use TikTok, it will find a way in. It's going to be the neighbor kid or the kids on the bus. And the kids are lacking the empathy. It's so different nowadays. And I also wanted to mention, with the idea of TikTok specifically, how, in China, where TikTok originated, the content being shown to the youth in China is STEM-based stuff. The content being shown to our youth is young girls shaking their butts on screen. And this series of books, and not just this series, but STEM in general, is so important. And there's just not enough of it. So if we can find a good way to make this sort of, content, entertaining, but like one fun librarian told me, these books are the cheese on the broccoli, to make it palatable, to make it go down, that these kids don't even realize that they're learning because of the bright colors and the fun characters and the comedy and silly stuff. But at the end of it, they're going to walk away knowing something they didn't know.
When kids are obviously learning to read, can they read these books or is it more like a parent led?
Well, I would say there are some bigger words in the books. When I wrote the stories, I didn't really think about, how they have these step one, step two books. I wasn't thinking about that. There are some bigger words. So I would say, for the younger kids, it's definitely more of a story time book. And a lot of the books, they have activities at the end, which are not really, big activities, but just silly, like question and answer, that to keep the kids engaged, or like spot the difference, or, a little maze to do with their finger, just silly little things that they can give them something to do after they're done reading the book to kind of keep them engaged. So, but yeah, I would say definitely read along.
Well, I feel like I'd want to anyways because I think I would learn some stuff from these books. It's funny because like we talked about, it's like really marketed towards children, but I do think that like some of us just didn't like maintain that information, and it'd be good to have a refresher course and maybe in a simpler terms.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because when you're sitting in a classroom and they're giving you a lesson and then you have to do a worksheet after, and then that's it. That's it. You never come back to it. You never really use it in everyday life, So these sort of things I think are better for memory for kids.
Yeah, when you talked about entropy and the way you explained it, I'm like, makes so much more sense than like I sort of understood the Google definition, but like I needed like an example of it.
Story form. Story form is so much better.
Yes. Yes. Talk about the illustrator. Are you the illustrator? Who's drawing these?
I am the illustrator, but let me just tell you, illustrating is not what it used to be. I use multiple apps to get to my illustrations, and on top of it, my illustrations are not that high tech, or, I've always been into art as well, but more doodles. And these are kind of doodles that are colored in. So between all of the apps that I'm using, it feels, I'm not an illustrator per se. I would not put my name out there to illustrate other people's books, but yes, I did illustrate these myself.
But I think the characters are so cute, and they really do look like a professional illustrator made them. I didn't look at them and be like, oh, someone that didn't really know what they were doing figured it out,
I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, they are really cute. And I think that's part of it. I think that's the part that you need to entice the kids. Because really, they always say don't judge a book by its cover, but everybody judges books, actual books, by their covers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why, the covers are more for the kids. It's if the covers can grab the kids and the titles can grab the parents, then you've got a winning combination.
Yeah, because I will say, Ann Arbor has a great library system and they have a ton of books. And my daughter is a newer reader. She's been reading like 2 years now, and like I'll try to like find books for her and she's like, no, I'm not into that. And it'll all be based on the cover. And I'll even try to like just reserve a book for her. And then she'll be like, nope, I'm not doing that one. So you're right. It does have to be their choice to like figure out what the book is going to be.
Yes, and once you get them with one cover, they'll come back for more. That's what I found. It's not always the same book that'll grab their attention the first time, but then once they've grabbed the attention, they'll come back and they'll be like, I recognize that character. That's Flux. I want to read that book. And they're continuing to learn, more and more. So
I will say, yes, it's smart to do a series. Yes, because I feel like all the books, when I talk to her, it's like, oh, I want to read every book in the series because this is a series I like. And then they won't shy away from that until it's done. Like they want to read every book in it. And I think it's smart to do a series because then it just keeps them wanting to see what these characters are up to.
Yes, and then I can continue coming up as my daughter gets older. Her curriculum is evolving, and I'm, gonna, when school starts here, we're gonna be looking at it and be like, hey, I think I might go for that one next, make another book.
Well, and I love this idea. We have a big age gap. So I have a 2-year-old son and then my daughter's 9. And like, I'm like, we could start with the first books and do them all together. And she would probably enjoy it too.
Yeah, and then she can teach. She'll be like, I remember that one, oh,
yes.
Check this out.
Yes, yes. Where can people get the books?
So currently the books are all available on Amazon, as well as some smaller bookstores. I'm really trying now to get them into libraries and bookstores across Michigan. I'm currently networking, trying to get them even into some school libraries because I think it's a really good fit for school libraries. But also Midland Street Books here in Bay City, Amazon, of course. And then I'll be doing a book signing in Frankenmuth on September 6th at Charlin's Book Nook, as well as a multi-author event down there at Charlin's on Black Friday weekend, November 29th, Saturday. Other than that, I'll be out at different crafts fairs and church bazaars. And I'm just, right now, this is still very new for me. I'm just trying to get the word out. I've self-published these books, so I'm also
that was my next question. Because I know a lot of authors in this day and age do have to self-publish. It's just the way the game is.
Yeah, currently they're all self-published. I'm in the market though to get them traditionally published because I feel like that's definitely the next step. If I really want to take this anywhere of substance, I've got to be in the game in a professional manner, and that means an agent, a real publishing house. And so I'm kind of in the market for that right now. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully I can get somewhere. But
well, best of luck with that. I mean, I can tell that you're really working hard, and I know this is a passionate project for you. And I love that for people. When I get to talk to someone and they've sort of changed their own life by following something that they're passionate about, it's just such a beautiful thing. It really is.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. It's a lot of work. It's very, hard work. My kids are like, why are you still at the computer? You guys don't understand. You're going to remember this in 30 years. This is still going to be around, this is not a one-off. So
Well, and it might make them do something like that in their future. They'll be like, my mom did this when I was a kid, and guess
yeah.
what? I'm gonna make this sculpture or whatever it is that they really love. And I will attest that I do the same sort of thing. Like I have a full-time job, but then like in my free time, I'll create art, and then I let the kids create it with me, and it's like a whole really wonderful thing. And I think it's so important to have things in your life that make you happy.
Yes. I call it irresponsible art. Every once in a while, especially in the winter when it's snowing outside and you're not going sledding, I put all of the art supplies on the table, the paint, the crayons, the pastels, I mean everything. And we call it irresponsible art. And I just let them go to town and do whatever they want, and they have come up with some really fun things.
It's almost like entropy art.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, why should people, we're out of time, but why should people go on Amazon or come visit you, go to your Bay City bookshop? Why should they check out these books?
Well, I think that they should definitely give it a try, and I don't think that they're going to be disappointed. It's what do you have to lose to read a fun educational book to your kid? So,
Totally. Well, thank you so much, Lily.
thank you so much for having me.
For more on this and other programs, visit a2gov.org/CTN. Visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to see all that we have to offer. And remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time to FYI.